Before the video starts, I just want to say, please watch the entire video, like all the way towards the end. There's like important information that I'm trying to like help you guys out with. The video isn't perfect, but I'm hoping that it does, you know, help you guys do this, because it's not the easiest thing in the world. I'm going to be honest with you. If you guys have any comments after watching the full video, let me know in the comments down below. I'm here to help you guys out. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, do your thing, enjoy the video. Welcome back to another vlog, and today, by the title of the video, we're gonna be making the E30 suspension great again. I mean, it was never great, it was always pretty trash, but we're gonna make it better. We're gonna make it finally perform like an E36 or an E46. The E30 rear suspension doesn't have anything adjustable. You can go with Garagistics little tabs, you know, the little serrated tabs, which they work, they're awesome, but in my application, it wasn't enough. And so there's a great company out there called MRT Engineering that comes with an adjuster kit. Now this kit requires you to weld it in, cut your control arm, completely potentially mess everything up, but I'm gonna hopefully show you guys how to not mess up. Hopefully I don't mess up, because it's the first time I do this, but we're gonna try it. I've gathered everything I needed. I hope I set myself up for success. Now, aside from MRT Engineering, I noticed there's another company called IRP. IRP Individual Racing Parts. Racing Kits, is it Racing Parts? Racing Parts. They also make this kit. The two kits are a little different. I don't know who came out with what first. IRP's kit is a little different, and they just have washers here and here, where this kit is completely closed, and then they use a little C-clamp here if you ever want to, like, I don't know, service this or clean it. And it's all one solid billet piece. If you guys look inside there, the whole threads and all that, and the whole camber adjustment, it is all one solid piece. It's all billet, it's all nice, I like it. So this goes on one arm, and then this part that I blue taped so it doesn't come apart, this goes on the other arm, and it'll act, this swivels, so like if your arm moves with all the adjustment, it'll swivel with this guy, so it's not all binding up and stuff. And again, whether you went with IRP or with MRT Engineering, they're both the same. I got one of the arms off, and I guess the only thing I did was cut the bracket for my brake line, because I didn't want to disconnect my brake line and have to like re-bleed everything all over again. This I'm not worried about. I'll fold it back, I'll zip tie the line back on. It is not a big deal. So the arms are off. I took off the rotors for weight purposes, and I can like maneuver them and handle them better. And the next step, in a perfect world, we just chop that and weld it on, no problem. But the problem is, if I just cut and weld and I get this angle wrong, then it's gonna be binding when it's mounted to the subframe. So I need to make a jig that's gonna represent the subframe, so I can get the mounting angle of this correct. So the way we're gonna make the jig, a bunch of metal, we're gonna have this going across, we're gonna have some pegs going up, we're gonna have that bolted, there's gonna be an arm that goes across to this mounting location, that's gonna have a metal peg coming up, we're gonna bolt in, we're gonna pretty much make a mini subframe, one side of the subframe, to get this welded in. It's super hard to kind of explain what I'm doing, so I'm just kind of gonna flow along with it. You guys are gonna get it soon enough. So again, I need to make a jig that mounts these two locations and that mounts this back location. So with this first part, I'm gonna weld these guys up like this, and these are all cut at 7 inches. I'm gonna weld those in. First I'm gonna blow some holes through them, but weld them like that, one on each side. They're gonna have holes through them, put the hardware through, and then that's gonna be elevated like so with the mounting locations. And then once I do that, I can try to find the angle for this. So let's start with that. This is an annoying part that's gonna take me forever, but I need to start blasting holes through all of these. And the way I'm gonna make sure that they're all nice and straight and even is I'm gonna put my speed square, I'm gonna make sure it's lined up to a certain point, line them all up there. So for example, I'm gonna put that one there, clamp it, and drill every single hole at that same distance, and it's gonna be dictated from me lining it up to the top
of this little line with the little circle dude. So it's gonna meet like that every single time. So we got all our metals nice and tapped whole. I cleaned up the bottom so my welds don't come out a little so dookie. And then the general idea that I'm gonna do next, I need my knee to get kind of like the height. We're gonna do that and this and that with 4 of these, like that. Boom, boom, and we're gonna weld those in. Got it? You get it? You following? Good.
5 minutes later.
Okay, so I messed up already, and now I'll explain why. I made the length, this spacing, according to the control arm spacing, but that is incorrect. What I had to do is make the spacing of this guy, because I'm gonna cut it, and this is gonna be my new mounting location. And for the other side, I had to make it the spacing of this. Frick! Damn it! It happens, it's cool. I'm not even mad. I'm just gonna grind it off, clean it off, and then hopefully now this time, because I also noticed something else. So as much as I tried to make these holes all the same and straight, it's super hard to predict that. I don't know if you can see it's going at an angle. So the next time I weld these in, I'll have the hardware in here, and then I'll have them offset to where this can be straight. Even though I do have a swivel on this, I still want, this to be as straight as possible. It's starting to make a little more sense in my head. So this what I did. This what I did right here, man. So this is not welded in, this is not welded in. I got the size of the outer jigs, right, with the bushings in. Then I'm gonna slide, in case you made the holes all crooked, which is pretty hard to make them pretty straight, especially if you don't have like a whole shop filled with like awesome tools. Put it in the other side, like so. And then with it in there like that, you're gonna weld it in, have a square, make sure it's dead on straight, and then boom, that should be a proper jig to put this in. But again, it's not a big deal that the size of this guy is a little different. It's probably a little different, honestly, because the bushings got wore out. So when I tightened it, I probably bent the metal on the subframe, now that I'm thinking about it. But it's okay, because I made these long enough to where it'll fold on top. So I'll make the jig like that. Once that's made, I'll bolt it up, and once I bolt it up, we'll get the bar that goes across to this guy.
Approximately 10 hours later.
Alright. I finally made the base. It took way longer than it should. Hey man, we're on day 2. That is my doggo. My doggo is also a cow, half doggo. Alright, we did the things. We're gonna get ready to cut the control arm to try to weld in this heim joint. I doubt we'll mess up. We'll be fine. But we're gonna start with the spherical dude. Not the heim joint, but like the other guy. It's gonna be this. I have a tape for reference of how I want to cut it. I'm pretty much just gonna follow all along the line. Try to cut it as close to this like round cylinder part as possible. I'm gonna put you guys on the tripod, and you guys are just gonna watch me cut metal. Okay, so I like where I cut it. It was like right on the cylinder, so my guesstimation was correct. I ended up sledgehammering the rest off. Okay, I mounted the control arm onto the jig. So I think what I'm supposed to do next is I have to grind a bit of metal I can see that I'm hitting like towards the center of that, so I'm gonna try to carve this out, make it more round, and then try to fit this guy in there. Now the next thing I want to do is serviceability. This little locking nut, I know that inside the car on the driver's side I have like a brake line right here, so I don't want to have this rotated on this side. I'm gonna try my hardest to put it in. There's nothing in the center here, so it'll make it better if I ever do have to undo this locking nut. I'm gonna try to make sure that it's like that. So let's clean up some metal, let's get that shape down, and then we're gonna try to throw in some tack welds once it lines up. I've cleaned up a lot of the metal that was going on right here, and inserting this, it's not perfect, but I kind of rounded off the edges here and here so I can kind of cup it. I took off a lot of material on this side, like the weld kind of sticks out a lot, the factory weld, so I cleaned that up so this locking nut is free. That looks decent. I'm gonna put it back on the jig and see if it fits. So lay it down, put in this arm first, and then I pick up the rear and I put the same coilover bolt that's in here, or that you use, making sure that I'm picking up the weight so I don't mess up the threads. Then we're gonna put the heim side. Look at all that, boy. Hopefully this is right. I don't know. I'm gonna just do a fat fill across, and then if it gets too bumpy, I'll grind it flat and then get ready for that plate. But once I do that fill on top, I'm gonna take it off the jig, flip the control arm, and then the hole on the bottom is really big, so I'm gonna take a while filling that, but let's do it. Nice. It still spins. So I saw in the picture, in the illustration I've been following, that they had a little top plate. I replicated it. I'm sure it's adding a tiny bit more reinforcement. Doesn't look the greatest, but whatever, man. I got the weld all the way around. I filled in that big old hole on the bottom. That looks really good. I'm happy with it. It lines up on the jig. It's great. So this side, one side, done. Now we're gonna move over to the hard part. And here's the game plan. I'm gonna open up this joint to about, let's say there. Whatever I do here, I'm gonna, or whatever I cut off, I'm gonna like measure and copy the other arm. But I'm gonna open it up there and then see where it lands. And wherever it lands, like so, in its OEM location, say about there, that's where I'm gonna cut it. So I'm more than likely cutting like down here, and then just send it. And whatever adjustability I get out of it by closing it, that's what it's gonna stay at. I wanted it as close as possible, which this extends really far, so that's pretty good. And that's kind of the measurement I'm gonna get. Once I do cut it, I'm gonna get like a point, let's say maybe, if the other arm has this thing, I'll probably measure from here to here. And then for other guys, I'll probably even measure from like back here straight across and get a point of measurement for you guys. But let's move on over to this side. I think a nice point to cut, and again, the straight cut is gonna be for this part here, and the oval part, I'm gonna end up cutting that with the grinder, so it's gonna be like in here. It's gonna sit like that, oval part in there. But I think a nice point would be, if you have Z3 arms, they're already reinforced, it'll be right above that. If you don't, we're gonna hit the tape measure back there, and it's gonna sit exactly at 15 3/4. And that'll be where I'm gonna cut it. Is it gonna work? Hopefully. I don't know, but we're just gonna do the damn thing. So this part's taking forever. Basically what I'm doing is cutting slits into the metal, and then once I have the slits, I'm trying to like cut an X into them with the same, you know, grinder, and then I'll hit it with a flap disc, one of these guys, and then try to like oval out the hole. And the end goal is, it's like right in front of me is to get this guy to fit inside. I'm not quite there yet. I'm almost there. I just have to shape a little bit off here, a little bit off there, and then this will fall into the pocket, and then I'll have nice weld penetration all the way around. This guy's gonna be sticking out. This little pinch weld, this little pinch right here, I'm gonna leave that alone because that's like a nice piece of thick metal that's gonna make sure that this is reinforced really well. So I'm gonna keep cutting away at that and I'll get back to you guys. Alright, I'm not gonna lie, that looks pretty all right. This fits in there. Obviously there's little gaps. I'm no pro at this, man. I don't even know what I'm doing half the time. So now the jig is so we can get this angle right. But if you guys look at the bottom, let's say this was a bottom base, that looks pretty darn good. I might clean up just slightly right there. And then the top also looks like it lines up pretty good, man. I like it. Put it back on the jig and then we're gonna get some tack welds in. Next issue. This is really hard by yourself. Like 100% have a friend to help you, because brother, the arm is naturally offset in weight to this side. Obviously the hub's here, right? So after I welded in this heim joint, the purpose of that joint is it swivels, it flexes because of all the maneuverability that this side is going to get. So when I bolt it up to the jig, it's tilting and falling down, and trying to find that height for this to line up like properly, like so, was really difficult. I was trying to find something that would fit under this control arm that's like appropriate height. I just so happen to have like these like welder magnet things, and they perfectly stuck on right there. All right, so remember when I said you need friends to do this? Just kidding. So I figured out a jack, any piece of wood, metal, your broom, I don't know, but jack that thing up until it is pretty leveled and straight. Line up your heim joint and send it with some welds. And yeah, I was thinking about it. The car is naturally cambered in, so if I want to take that out, I want to move this down, so this whole unit will move. It doesn't let me now because I locked it, but this whole unit would move down, so this would slide up to take out the camber. So I think I am going to weld it about, see how it's not touching the bottom completely, but it's not completely centered. I'm kind of lining these two up at the bottom. I'm gonna weld it in just like that. So all this little slide momentum I have up here, I'll have all of that to adjust my camber. And the reason I'm doing that is because if I ever want to super like dump the car to the ground, it wouldn't matter because I can take all that camber out. So hot boy points. I'm gonna do a fat weld all the way across. Okay, we completely finished one control arm. Some nice pretty colors in there. The welds aren't beautiful. I couldn't clean up the metal in a lot of areas, so especially down here, yeah, it's actually not too bad. Could be better though, could always be better. Made contact all the way around. It is all done. Yeah, man, this was really difficult. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna obviously do the other control arm. I'm not gonna show that process. I'm just gonna do the exact same thing I did with this one arm. But yeah, we're gonna come back, or I'll come back to you guys when I'm completely done with the other arm, and we're gonna try to install them on the car. Hey man, I totally forgot to close out this video. The last time I talked, I think I said I was gonna weld up the other side, something like that, right? I ended up finishing up that side. I ended up mounting the control arms to the car, and there's two things to watch out for. The main one that you'll probably notice right off the bat is when you weld all around the heim joint and you try putting that little insert that like slides up and down back in, it doesn't fit because the metal warped. Now, whether I did it incorrectly and my settings were too high on my welder and it got too hot, which I doubt, I wasn't cranking it all the way. Regardless, with just some elbow grease and sandpaper, I started sanding, getting my grinder, grinding the actual insert piece until it fit. until it moved freely. And it wasn't too much, but I did have to grind some. So that's one thing to watch out for. The second thing is when you actually come, and by the way, everything's mounted. Oh wait, sliding. Everything's mounted, all nice and pretty. I still have to paint that. I'm not gonna worry about it. I have an event to get to, so I've been like pressed on time. But anyways, right here, that dude right there, if I welded it a little offset and I'm trying to get as much camber out as I can from eyeballing it, it looks like I'm at positive camber, which is what I'm going for. Now with that happening, it does not look like the prettiest thing in the world. I'm sure you guys will figure out a way to do that so much better, but if you can see it, yeah, I had to make a hole in my frame. Probably not the best thing in the world, but I'm doing that temporarily now, and then later I'll end up plating it and reinforcing it in case the chassis, the structural rigidity of the chassis is affected, which I'm sure 100% it is. But later on, there's a brake line that goes through there. I'm gonna remove it or just bring it down, clean that metal up, and plate it so we don't get any weird slop in the rear. Other than that, the kit is completely done. It is installed. It is 100% doing its job, and I don't have a before. I don't think I have a before, but that used to be like crazy cambered in. So the kit's doing great. I have crazy toe adjustment, which is insane, and the camber adjustment is perfectly there from what it was before. I give this an A+. As far as like the installation and the work, never in my life will I probably do this ever again. It sucked. It was not fun at all. But anyways, I'm closing out this video because I'm still buttoning up some stuff. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video helped tremendously. I don't know, I haven't even edited. I don't even know what I have said all video, but hopefully it helps. Hopefully you guys make your E30s, Z3s, and 318 Ti super sick. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.